Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I'm joined by longtime Kiss fan Mike Nimoli. Mike was kind enough last year to spend some time with me, sharing his stories and his memories about meeting the late, great Eric Carr during the 80s. Last summer, I put together a tribute video for Eric on what would have been his 70th birthday. It was such an honor, as Eric was my musical idol growing up. Well, here for the first time is my uncut conversation with Mike, where he shared some of his stories about meeting Eric Carr. Now, I used some of these in my tribute video last year, but many of this has never been seen or heard, and this will be the first time you guys get to hear some more of Mike's stories. I think they're really great. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So why don't we jump in and get started? Hey everybody, I'm really excited to have with me on the show here today a Kiss fan for I think over 40 years, Michael Nimoli. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So we're doing this tribute in honor of Eric Carr, and you were one of the first people I thought of reaching out to because you have a long history of being a Kiss fan. How many Kiss concerts? Isn't it like over 200 concerts you've been to?
Yeah, I think I'm at 262.
260, that's incredible. Absolutely.
In 9 different countries.
Incredible.
Over a 30-year period.
That's absolutely. So when was the first time you saw the band?
Lick It Up in March of '84 at Radio City Music Hall, night number 2.
Oh, yep. That was my second Kiss show, so I was at that show as well. Right. So that's interesting. So your first Kiss show was actually
Dynasty was your first show in '79.
I went to Dynasty. I was 8 years old. My parents turning 9. My parents took me, and thank God for them. Right. So I was able to see Kiss. At the Garden, yep, July 25th of '79.
Cool.
And then my second one was Radio City, the same exact night that you were there. So that was your first time, obviously, then seeing Eric Carr. Were you a fan before that?
Well, that was the first time seeing him or the band live.
Right.
But I had met the band for the very first time, including Eric, only a week prior at Sam Goody.
Yes.
Across the street from Radio City. They did an in-store for the Lick It Up album. So it was like a nice transition from just meeting them for the very first time to seeing them live for the very first time.
Right. So what do you remember about that meeting at Sam Goody? Right. I wasn't there. I would have loved to be there. What do you remember about it?
I remember cutting school. It was a weekday. And a friend and I took the train in, the A train from Queens into Manhattan, which was risky in 1984.
Sure.
I remember it being cold. I remember the line was around the corner. It was huge, and we got on the line, and just the whole vibe and the excitement, sort of like a Detroit '96,
Sure.
Outside the venue, people excited. They're finally going to get close to these superheroes.
Sure.
People that you've idolized your whole life. All of a sudden, you're going to see them in person.
Right.
And the anticipation of getting closer and closer to the door, finally seeing in the glass and them standing there.
Yep.
And it was exciting for a 16-year-old kid.
Sure.
Fan,
Absolutely.
It was really exciting. But when we finally did get in, it was rather quick.
Right. Of course, as these things are.
Out with them like they are today. These,
Right.
Right. But it was definitely memorable for me.
Absolutely. What did you get signed that day? Do you still have it?
I got the Lick It Up album cover signed, which I still have to this day. I apologize. I should have had it.
No, that's okay.
It's a great piece. I cherish it, and I think that's really all I needed or wanted. I just wanted to have what they were there for. promoting the Lick It Up album.
Absolutely.
And that was enough for me.
Absolutely. Now, what year did you become a Kiss fan?
Well, when I was younger, I was aware of Kiss. I was a fan, but I wasn't a fanatic.
Right. Yep.
I was a big Beatles guy.
Right.
Okay. So the Beatles took all my attention. Then, in the late 70s, I would say I had all the albums up to that, but I wasn't gung-ho over them.
Sure. Okay.
But, then when 79, Dynasty came out, and then, believe it or not, I started heavily getting into them, 80, 81, Unmasked, Elder, buying the albums when they came, the days they came out.
Sure.
And then my love for them grew from there.
Right.
And then seeing them for the first time in 84.
Right. Now, do you remember when you heard about Eric Carr joining the band and what your thoughts were at that time?
I don't, to be honest. I remember seeing Kiss drummer Peter Criss had left the band.
16 magazine, probably, like me.
Yes. And I was even in the Daily News, I believe. Was it in the Daily News?
Right. Maybe. That could be it.
And I remember also the Palladium show.
Yep.
In July of 80.
Yep.
So I knew he was in the band.
Sure.
And then, Elder, Unmasked, so I knew at that point that he was there.
Sure. Now, obviously, you saw the band, like you just said, over 250 times. Do you remember 260 times? Right. Do you remember that first show, Radio City? What do you remember about that concert that night? Anything?
I remember it was very loud.
Yep.
Okay. And I remember, we were sitting upstairs.
Okay.
And I remember the crowd being really, really into it. And I remember them playing really well. They did a number of songs that I had never thought I'd see live.
Sure.
I believe they did "Gimme More."
Yes, they
night.
did. Yep, they did.
Is that the night that Gene's hair caught on fire?
I believe so. Yes.
Was that the night that Paul and Vinny got into a little scuffle?
Yes, that is also correct. Yes.
Yeah, I remember the stairs going. I don't know if they were stairs, but going up to the sides.
Okay.
And Gene would go up, up to the side, and he did his beat solo. Yeah, it was really really cool, and of course the tank with the turret.
Absolutely.
And the smoke.
Absolutely.
Awesome,
Absolutely. So when was you met Eric at Sam Goody's the week before, right? What was the next time? Because you met Eric a number of times during the 80s, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you how my whole meeting Kiss and hanging out with them, so to speak, whatever, how it really all started.
Okay.
It started with my being a Beatles fan. So what had happened is in the spring of 85, okay, a childhood friend and I went to a Sotheby's auction in Manhattan. They were auctioning off John Lennon's psychedelic Rolls Royce.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So again, my friend and I, this is another friend. We went, a big Beatles fan. We went into Manhattan again on the train. I wanted to be close to something that a Beatle had driven,
Right, of course.
So we went there that day, and I had my Beatles shirt on and my long hair, and we're standing there, and I'm checking out the car, and all of a sudden I see Mitch Weissman standing to the side. So I said to my friend Greg, I said, "Holy shit, there's Mitch Weissman standing over there."
Right, Beatlemania, right, exactly.
From Beatlemania.
Right, exactly.
Outside.
That's awesome.
This guy wrote for Kiss.
Right.
He wrote on Kiss albums.
Yep, absolutely.
He wrote on Animalize.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, absolutely.
I said, I want to meet this guy.
Right.
So I went to him. I introduced myself. I gave him the whole spiel about, when I was 11 years old, I saw Beatlemania on Broadway with you as Paul McCartney, and I loved it. And then a couple of years later, John had died, and I knew that I'd never have the opportunity to see the Beatles as a band. The whole tribute thing was awesome for me.
Sure.
So he goes, "Oh, so you're a big Kiss fan?" Because I had told him. I said, "Yeah, I love Kiss. After the Beatles, Kiss are my second favorite band." He goes, "That's funny because the guys are at Electric Ladyland this whole month recording their new album Asylum, which I helped them out." Really? He goes, "Yeah." I said, okay, thanks.
Right, right.
I cut school every day.
Oh, wow.
Whole May.
Uh-huh.
And every day I went to Electric Lady with stacks of albums in my hand. And I met the guys every day,
Wow.
one at a time, coming in at like 11 o'clock in the morning. Eric would be the first guy, Eric or Bruce. Eric would come out of his silver Porsche.
Oh, wow.
Bruce would come out of a Dodge Dart.
Okay.
He would get out of a taxi, you know,
Uh-huh,
out of a Porsche, and they'd park down the block, you know, and
Right,
they'd
right.
come in. And that's how my relationship or my friendship started with them, being this fan, getting autographs, taking pictures with them, you know, never overstepping my boundaries,
Right, right.
talking to them, you know, and that's really where it started in the spring of '85, I believe. Yeah, spring of '85 of the recording with Asylum.
So let me just pause you there for a moment. So to me, as I'm hearing this story and being in New York and myself, I'm like, damn, I should have done that too. But you know,
But did you know that they were there?
No, because I didn't run into Mitch Weissman.
Listen, if I hadn't met Mitch Weissman,
right, you wouldn't have known.
I wouldn't have known.
Right, of course. Right, that makes sense. No, I had no idea that they were there at the time. But to me, you're standing out there. Now, it would have been very easy for Eric, Bruce, or any of the guys to just wave hello, walk past, and go in.
Paul did that a number of times.
Paul did that, and I'm not surprised.
Paul.
I'm not surprised. Exactly. That's just
Right.
Paul's demeanor. That's who he is. For better or worse, that's who he is, right? But it sounds like Eric would stop out there and hang out always. So do you remember any of the conversations or anything that you talked about with him?
Well, Eric was very friendly, very approachable, okay? Very accessible, you know? Would always stop, was never in a rush. I got to go, blah, blah, blah. Always there. Sign whatever you give him, speak to you. And, you know, Eric being Italian, me being Italian, him living or having grown up very close to where I live, you know, Sutter Avenue. He had cousins that lived on Sutter Avenue. So
Okay.
we always spoke about that,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
Me being a drummer, him being a Beatles fan, you know, so there was lots to talk about. And he was always very, very friendly like that.
Right.
Very funny,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Loved the fans.
Right, and that's what everybody says. And you know, like I said before, it's my biggest regret having never met him. Now, were you able to take pictures at all during those times with him?
I did over the years. I didn't take a photo with him at Electric Lady.
Okay.
But in the year or two, heavily in '89 and '90, took a lot of photos with him.
So how did you connect with them again in '89, '90? Right, I'm assuming you're not standing outside the studio for 4 years waiting for him to show up again.
No, after Asylum came out, right? Then I hooked up with some other people, other huge Kiss fans,
Yep.
and we made it our mission in life to find out where the band, because they were still a New York-based band.
Sure, absolutely.
You know? They didn't make that move to California yet, so they were always in the city doing something, whether it was a radio promo, recording studio, photo shoot, you name it, whatever. Even the airport. I used to meet them at JFK all the time, leaving or coming.
Right.
You know? So I hooked up with other fans, and we always found out where they would be.
Okay.
You know, and then we would go. We'd find out their schedule, you know, when they were coming in and when they were leaving, and we'd base going to meet them around that, you know?
Right.
We'd meet them coming in, take photos, get autographs, go eat,
Right.
and then come back and wait for them to finish and come out.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
I know when I spoke with Eddie Trunk, Eddie would say that anytime Eric was on his radio show, there was always a bunch of fans like hanging out in the parking lot, waiting afterwards. Were you one of those fans at times?
No.
Oh, okay, wow.
I never went to the Eddie Trunk show.
Okay.
Wasn't it in Jersey years
Yeah,
ago?
he was in Jersey at the time.
Yeah,
right.
nah, I'm a New York guy.
Right. And you had enough, you were seeing them in New York, so you didn't need to drive to Jersey. Right. So now talk about then, so how did you get connected with them in the 89, 90 time period?
Again, I was going to SIR Studios.
Yep.
They were rehearsing for
Hot and Shade?
Crazy Nights.
Oh, Crazy
They
Nights.
were
Okay.
rehearsing for the two Rich shows
Yep.
for Crazy Nights, and then they were rehearsing for Monsters of Rock
Yep.
in England. Because they actually left the next day for England after the Rich shows. That's when my relationship really got solidified with the whole band, because I was there every single day, and a lot of times it was just to say hi,
right?
Not to bust their balls, Like some days we take photos, some days we got autographs, some days we didn't do either,
right?
Yeah, SIR 87, and then into 89, Paul rehearsing for his solo tour, and then in the fall rehearsing for the summer Hot in the Shade tour.
Yep.
That was the hot spot. That was ground zero for all things Kiss. That period.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, Eric, same thing like at Electric Ladyland. We'll always stop, say, hey, you guys doing? What's going on? Blah blah. Have for lunch.
Right.
Stuff like that. Really, and as a matter of fact, one of my photos here.
Yeah.
That I'll show you, I took outside of SIR.
Yes.
And this photo here of Eric and I, can you see it?
Yes, I can. Yes.
See, I'm holding in my hand a drumstick.
Yep, I see that.
And these are the Eric Carr used drumsticks that he gave me from that rehearsal.
That is
in SIR.
Awesome. Oh, wow.
Still has the tape on them,
Right. Wow.
So it was really good at SIR. I remember when the same week that Trouble Walking came out with Hide Your Heart, I think Hot in the Shade had just come out around the same time.
Yep.
Hide Your Heart,
Right, like a week apart, I think.
Paul coming over to my car and leaning in and, listening as we were listening to the Ace version, because he hadn't it before,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and
very...
Eric really always took the time to speak with us, on a person level.
Right.
Not he's this big rock star,
right,
and you're a little fan. Wasn't like that.
Right.
It was always, real.
Right, and that's what everybody who's met him, that's what they say, is that Eric was always very real. I always say that he was my musical idol in the 80s, because to me, he just seemed like one of us, right? Eric just seemed like he was the guy that was lucky, that went to an audition and got in one of the biggest bands in the world. But at the end of the day, he was just an everyday guy, just like anybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's another photo outside of SIR. You see his sweatpants. He's all sweaty.
Yep.
They were just rehearsing.
Yep, absolutely.
I tell you, it was a great period in my life. I had just started my job. I'd leave and I'd go into the city.
Okay.
And just, to be with your favorite band every single day.
Sure.
And establishing a relationship, a friendship, trust,
Yep.
That, and then, going back to when they were rehearsing for Crazy Nights. So we saw the 2 shows at the Ritz.
Yep. Okay.
Listen to it on the radio, on WNW, the broadcast.
Yep. I was at that one. Mm-hmm.
You were, right?
The first one, the one that was on the radio. Mm-hmm.
The first one was crazy. It was like 110 degrees.
Hottest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, it was. And then the next night they brought in these huge fans.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, because it was just so bad. So anyway, the next night, another friend of mine and I went to JFK.
Okay.
We figured out, because this was back in the day when you could make a phone call
and
pretend I'm calling to confirm a flight for someone.
Right.
It wasn't like it is today.
Not like today, right? Of course.
And they'd say, oh, yeah, they're on such and such a flight to London Heathrow and such an airline.
Right.
So we went there, and we got there an hour early. Got there.
Uh-huh.
Gene would always say, how did you know we were here? No matter where we would show
right, of course. Right.
Fans,
we of course.
Resourceful. We would find out,
Right, absolutely.
And then also, the morning of the You Make Me Rock Hard video filming, February of '89, Paul had just played a solo show at the Chance in Poughkeepsie.
Yep, okay.
So we figured out the next morning where they were filming it in Queens.
Oh, wow, okay.
And, sure enough, we got there like at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Uh-huh.
wait. And Eric came with his Porsche, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was taken that morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning.
So cool.
Very, very friendly,
Right.
Didn't care that it was early in the morning,
Uh-huh.
bullshitted with us.
Right.
And he said, yeah, I'll come out later. I'll see you, during our break or something. Really, really cool.
I love hearing these stories because it's everything everybody says about Eric to me just keeps getting solidified as true, accurate. It's really who he was. You would be out there, and like you said, he would just treat you like you're one of the guys. And to me, it's so great to hear those type of stories.
No one's lying to you, Mike.
No, I know.
Telling you he was like that.
He's the real deal.
He was like that.
That is awesome.
Absolutely.
Now, as a drummer, right? You're a drummer. You play in a great Beatles tribute band, right? I've seen some of your videos online. Were there any songs that Eric played that you're like, hey, I really love his drumming on this particular song, this particular album? Any favorites you have?
Right off the top of my head, I'd say like "Who Wants to Be Lonely" is a great drum, drum song. Just not so much a particular song, but the way he played. Eric was a left-handed drummer.
Yep.
Played right-handed.
Who played right-handed? Yep.
A lot of fans don't know that.
Yep.
Just like Ringo. Ringo was a left-handed drummer who was taught to play right-handed.
Sure.
That was kind of special. That was kind of cool. But he played the drums really hard.
Yes.
Like a man.
Yes, absolutely.
And it was hard,
Absolutely.
with conviction. And I really, really liked that about him. He hit the solos hard. His drum solos were very creative.
Yes.
I'm not a big drum solo guy. I don't like playing them. I don't even like watching them,
Right, okay.
Other than Neil Peart
and
right. Carr and maybe Peter Criss back in the day.
Sure.
That's about it for drum solos,
Right, right.
But Eric's, I loved Eric's sound. I loved his deep toms that he had. And I played Ludwig. He was a Ludwig endorser,
Yep.
And he had great double bass. His 2 feet were incredible,
Yes, absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
Who Wants to Be Lonely off the top of my head is, and of course, No, 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 songs like that,
Yep, absolutely.
Even more subtle songs like Tears Are Falling, really knew how to play to the song,
Absolutely agreed.
Sort of like a Ringo.
Yep.
The song is not about the drummer or the drum. It's about the vocals. It's about the melody. And you sit back and you play in the pocket. And Eric was that type of drummer.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I'm with you 100%. When I go to concerts, drum solos are, to me, the most boring thing. Exactly. No offense to drummers. I love drummers. Some of my best friends are drummers, right? But they're boring to listen to drum solos. But Eric always had something cool in it, whether it was, I think it's the Asylum tour, he had like the wall of fire that came up in front of him. Which,
when he jumped up on the bass drum.
Exactly. So that was cool. And then after that, or maybe even around that same time, he was incorporating the pads into his drums.
So
it almost became like a musical drum solo, if you will, right? It's almost like he was playing a song.
Eric was a very musical drummer,
Yes.
He played guitar, played the bass, played a little keyboards, and he was very musical. But you're right, though, that drum solo, dun dun dun.
Exactly.
Simmons pads sounded great.
Absolutely, it drew me in always, and I was never bored watching one of his solos. That's for sure.
A lot of that came from Kiss from the '70s with the big drum solo, with the big spectacle.
Absolutely. Now, what did you think of him as a singer? Obviously, he only had the one song, "Little Caesar," that was his, but he did Beth. What are your thoughts?
He had the one song, and Beth I don't count, but
right, me neither, really.
like Eric Singer, for example, he's not really a lead vocalist, right? But he added a lot. He adds a lot vocally. Eric Carr had that raspy, great voice that complemented Paul and Gene real nicely. I never considered Eric to be a vocalist.
Sure, yeah, I would agree.
But the vocals that he did do were great.
Agreed.
Young and Wasted.
Yep.
On the Animalize, it's incredible.
Absolutely agreed, 100%.
Yeah, and then Black Diamond was great stuff.
Absolutely. Now, do you remember the last time that you met him in person? When that was?
Oh wow. I would have to say it was his last show was June of '90.
November of '90 at the Garden.
Sorry, November of '90.
Yep.
Probably, I would say, in maybe September.
Okay.
No. Like, this was taken in September in San Diego.
Okay. Yep.
Mike, to be honest, I don't know the exact. And
It becomes a blur, right?
I probably should know, but I don't know when the last time was that I met him, unfortunately. Because I saw, I think it was 16 Hot in the Shade shows.
Wow.
So I was going to a lot, September, October, and then leading up to November. I didn't meet him at the Garden.
Okay.
The last show of the tour. Because I knew it was the last show of the tour, but nobody thought it was going to be his last show.
Of course, right.
I thought there'd be plenty of opportunities, but
absolutely.
So no, I don't remember the last time I met him, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. No, that's understandable. You just hit the nail on the head. We didn't know at that time, right? I was at that Garden show in 1990, and I remember it very vividly, but nobody knew that night that was the last time we were going to see Eric Carr in concert, So
absolutely.
I think we both feel fortunate and lucky that we live in New York. We were able to go to that show.
Very blessed.
Yes, exactly. I feel very blessed, but we didn't know then what we know now, that would be it for him. That would be the final time he played with Kiss,
Right.
Do you remember when you found out that he was not doing well? Okay.
I do. I was renting a house here in Ozone Park, Queens, where I live, living with my girlfriend at the time. And I remember we were just laying in bed listening to 1010 Wins News. And I think it was like 7 o'clock-ish, 8 o'clock at night, if I vaguely remember. And I remember ding, 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 1010 Win. The drummer for Kiss, Eric Carr, has passed away.
Right.
And I have goosebumps now. Just
I get chills. I get numb when I hear it still.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like so taken aback by that news. I looked at my girlfriend. We looked at each other because she was a big Kiss fan also, and I thought it was fake.
Sure.
Like I didn't think it had really happened.
Sure, of course.
And to be honest, I'm not a huge Queen fan, so the fact that Freddie died same day,
sure,
it's like that sucks. That's sad. Guess what?
Right.
It killed me that Eric Carr died.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the way I felt in 1991 also, and that's no disrespect. And that's not to say Eric Carr is better than Freddie Mercury. I mean, Freddie Mercury is an icon, right?
No, not saying
Freddie Mercury's top 10 maybe music person of all time, right? So, but I felt the same way on that individual given day. It's like, hold on. This guy, Freddie Mercury, passed away, and that's sad, but Eric Carr is my guy. And it was already going to be a light news probably for Eric Carr because he wasn't Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley. He wasn't Freddie Mercury. So it was going to be like, and then once Freddie Mercury passed the same day, the chances of having any news on Eric Carr pretty much, except for I think MTV ran a quick blurb that day, but otherwise that was going to be it.
I felt cheated.
Yeah, absolutely.
That Freddie Mercury had to overshadow Eric Carr's passing,
Right, absolutely. And at that time, you remember this, right? We were both in teenagers, early 20s, that time period. AIDS was a big thing in that time period also, just AIDS stories just in general.
Yes,
so having somebody like Freddie Mercury, a musical icon, pass away from AIDS complication, I mean, there's no way that wasn't going to be front page news around the world, So it's unfortunate, like you said, it kind of overshadowed Eric.
Like Farrah Fawcett dying on the same day as Michael Jackson.
Yeah, great point. Very great point. So now, fast forward a couple of months later, a year or so later, and Kiss put out Revenge. And for me, I love the album. I love that they put
great album.
I love that they put Car Jam at the end. I think it's a nice little tip of the hat tribute to Eric. But I'll be honest, I always felt a little cheated. Inside the booklet, I wanted pictures of Eric. I wanted acknowledgments. I wanted something more than just one sentence that they put in there. How did you feel? Did you feel like that was justified, like what they did?
Well, at that point, I had already established a friendship with Eric Singer.
Yep.
And I was excited about Revenge coming out. I loved it.
Absolutely.
Great production, great songwriting. Vinnie Vincent was back in the fold, you
yep,
know?
Absolutely.
Did I feel a little that Eric Carr should have gotten a little? I do. But in hindsight, now looking back, you know how Gene and Paul are.
Of course.
They want to move on.
Yes.
They were moving on with their career. They weren't going to dwell on what had happened.
Right.
So it was unfortunate. Everybody felt it. but now it was time, business, time to move on.
Right. Yep.
And I felt like that was their little way of saying, this is what we're doing for Eric, take it. We all loved him. We all miss him. Now it's time to move on. Should there have been a little bit more photos and stuff? Yeah. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. Right. Oh, no, I agree. And look, that's just me as a fan looking at it. And again, Eric Carr was my musical hero in the 80s. He was my idol in music. So I wanted a 100-page booklet of picture after picture of Eric, which was not realistic, So I went to a different extreme. But yeah, I wanted, for me, a little bit more than a sentence. But I think you're spot on. I think Paul and Gene wanted to acknowledge him, and they did with the song on the album, right? And a drum solo. I wanted more. So do you have any other pictures that you took with Eric that you could share with us?
I do. I have a few I could share.
Awesome.
Here's one. This is from Z100.
Nice.
They did like a radio promo that day.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what year that was?
That was 87.
87, okay.
No, nice. that was 89.
89, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
This is in London, Ontario.
Okay.
After the show. Here's an SIR shot with Bruce and Eric, in between Bruce and Eric.
Yep, very cool.
Are you seeing them okay, the photos?
Yes, I can. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another one between Bruce and Eric.
Yep. So awesome.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, hey, this is in Tampa, right before the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Hot in the Shade.
Right. It looks like it. Yep.
Because he has cool. the bodysuit on.
Yep.
Yeah, SIR during the day before he went in.
Nice. Yep.
Right. And another SIR shot.
Nice.
Yeah, and over here I got these a brand new pair of sticks that he gave me, white ones. They're still in the
wrapper.
Yeah, the Regal tip. I don't know if you can see them or
yes.
not.
Yeah, no, I can see them. Yep, I see the logo on them.
Those are near there. And I got this signed many years ago.
Very nice.
You see the signature?
Yep, absolutely. Right across. Yeah.
Bro,
nice. Wow. Yep, look at that.
Photo that Al Munson took. He was a big Kiss fan photographer years ago.
Absolutely.
So
I know you realize this. Most fans would die to have any one of those photos with Eric. You must feel lucky, and you look back at it now 30 years later. Do you realize how fortunate you are?
Very, very blessed. I don't take any of it for granted. I've spoken to Eric's, family and stuff about things, and I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. The world is how many billions of years old, right?
Yeah.
And think I lived that small time frame when the Beatles and Kiss and my favorite bands were touring, and to be accessible to me as a fan, going to see these guys, to meet them and see them in concert, kept me grounded.
Sure.
I didn't get involved with jerk-offs who wanted to take drugs, cause trouble. These were guys that had the same passion and interest that I had.
Right.
And Eric being down to earth and grounded and being a Brooklyn guy, it's his houses where he lived every day while I'm working, and it always comes back to me. I'll always keep it with me. It's funny because I didn't realize this until just recently, but in his time with Kiss, he was only living a half a mile from my house, and I didn't know.
You didn't know that. Wow, that's so crazy.
No, his sister brought it to my attention.
That's crazy.
So now I know, but all the time I was meeting him in Manhattan, he was leaving his car.
You guys are driving next to each other on the highway home and not knowing. That's crazy.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I feel very blessed. Very blessed.
Absolutely. Now, do you know, I know you said you saw 16 Hot in the Shade shows. Do you know how many times you saw Eric in concert in total?
Eric Carr?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. I saw 1 Lick It Up, 2 Animalize, 2 Asylum, 7 Crazy Nights. So that's 7 and 5.
12.
Right? 16 Hot in the Shade.
That's 28, I think I got my math right.
And and I think that's it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 20. That's absolutely incredible. Do you have a favorite tour that you saw with them with Eric?
With Eric,
Yeah.
favorite tour. Well, I wouldn't consider. I mean, Lick It Up was special the first time I saw them, but I only saw that one show, and I was young, and
Sure.
So but I mean, Hot in the Shade for me was great because it was a summer tour, and I love the summer. I freaking hate the winter
Yep.
with a passion.
Okay.
But I love summer tours,
Right. Absolutely.
And going to all the outdoor shows, and I met so many great people from other parts of the world and other parts of the country, fans that to this day I'm still friends with.
That's awesome.
And that tour in and of itself was great. They brought back great songs for that tour.
Sure. Absolutely. Yes. That was a great tour.
Yeah, I mean, Crazy Nights for me, I saw 7 shows and it was great and everything. At the time, it was great. But looking back on it now, it was kind of cheesy,
Yeah. No, I don't mind the album, but the tour for me just never did it for me. First off, I hate when they open with Love Gun. I just don't like that as an opening song, So great song, not a great opener at all. So
the album, I don't like the album either. I despise the production.
Okay. Yep.
And other than the few, great songs in there, it's like throwaway stuff, to me.
Sure.
But the production is really what ruins me. And the tour was a winter tour,
Yep.
Hated it. But yeah, Hot and Shade to me was great. Right. Absolutely,
Right. Absolutely. And like we said before, you're a drummer. Did you take anything from Eric Carr's drum style when you play drums, or?
Well, back in the late '80s, early '90s, I was in a heavy metal, band, like a cock rock glam band with hairspray. Trust me when I tell you, I had all the things that Eric had. The tooth earrings and the bandanas and everything. All of and just to play with the passion that he had and the double bass,
Sure, absolutely.
And I played pasty cymbals like he put that, it's great. It's great. But to play, I didn't actually play like Eric.
Right.
I just incorporated little things
Other
here
things,
and there.
Right. That's very cool. Anything else you remember from any of the times that you met Eric that you think that you should share that anybody would want to know?
I did go to the wake.
Okay.
When he had passed away, I drove up to Middletown, and I went to the funeral home, but I didn't want to overstep my boundary because I saw the other band members there.
Sure.
And I could have gone in, but I chose not to. I was in the parking lot, but I did go to the church, and that was chaotic. That was a crazy scene, with everything that was going on, and
absolutely.
But I don't want to leave it on that was to remember that.
Right.
Just in general, like I said, I feel blessed that I had the opportunity to meet him as much as I did, and I was friendly as friendly as I was with him. And it's unfortunate. I feel bad for the big fans like yourself who loved him but never had the opportunity to meet him. But you can imagine, right? Speaking from people, that he was a really great guy, down to earth, funny, right? Always made time for the fans.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I remember one day I told him that my band had did a show at a bar. At the time, it was called Nobody's. It was on Northern Boulevard in Flushing, Queens. That's the bar that he was sitting in when his friend walked in and said, "Hey, Eric, did you hear that Kiss is looking for a new drummer?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that
that's
is
the
so
first
cool.
time that he heard it. So I played in that same bar that he was sitting in.
That is so cool.
I have a little bit of that connection there,
Absolutely.
But just, I would say, listen to the records, dig his playing, and when you're listening to him, know that he was the real deal.
Absolutely.
I never heard him say anything bad about anyone. Even in jest or under his breath. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he was human. It's like
Of course. Of course.
But he never showed that part of it to me as a fan.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because he knew that I looked up to him. You know, I idolized him, you know.
Right.
And I guess he didn't want to bring that side, and that's fine.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
The other band members, I can't say that about, you know.
Right.
But with Eric, he never showed that side. I never heard a bad word out of his mouth about anyone, you know.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because yes, I didn't get to meet him, but every single account that you hear is what an incredible guy he was, and he has left an impact on me. Even so, I'll share this with you. I didn't meet him, but the fact that he passed so young and so suddenly and unexpectedly had an impact on me. Even now, what's 30 years later, 40 years later, 30 years later, that if I want to go to a meet and greet to meet somebody, or a concert, like last year I drove to Washington, D.C. to see the Rolling Stones because I hadn't seen them before. And I said, you know what? This is the closest they're coming right now. I haven't seen them. I don't want to take the chance. Eric did a Kiss Expo. I'm sure you remember this, in 1990. And yeah. I didn't drive up to it because I said, plenty of years I have for this. I don't have to drive all this time. Little did I know that wouldn't be the case, and I'd never get the opportunity. 30 years later, I'm not making those mistakes again. So I didn't get to meet Eric, but it's incredible the impact he had on my life, even all these years later, that I'm like, you know what? I want to go to that concert. I want to go to that meet and greet. I'm going to drive 4 hours because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And I don't want to look back and say, I lost another chance, because I did that once with Eric and I'm not going to do it again.
Right. Good, very good way to look at it. And he made a positive impact on your life.
Absolutely. So, he made positive impact on people like you, the fans. And that's what I love with your stories is, you could talk to people in the industry and you would expect Eric to act a certain way because it's a business thing. Yeah. You were just a fan standing outside, connecting with the band. And you just showed a bunch of pictures, and you opened this by saying you didn't take pictures every time you met him, right? These are just the times you took pictures, and he always made the time. And all these years later, you could just see the smile on your face as you're talking about it, the feeling that you had talking with him, meeting with him. It makes me feel good that the guy I idolized as a teenager growing up was a good guy like that. And I thank you, Mike. And I thank you for sharing these stories, because myself and other Kiss fans, I know, are going to love hearing them. So thank you, Mike.
Cool. Thank you, Mike. It was my pleasure. It was an honor to be on your show.
No,
my
thank
first
you.
podcast I've ever done.
Oh, well. Alrighty, there you have it. I'd like to thank Mike for taking some time out with me and sharing his stories and his memories about meeting Eric Carr and Kiss during the 80s. That was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, Mike. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You should also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.